Hello, everyone. We are going to be talking about the Google Suite of apps, the programs such as Docs, Slides, and Sheets today. We're going to just do a basic overview of each of them. And we're going to start with a slideshow. If you want to follow along to the presentation on your own screen, the link to the presentation is up here. It will also be on each of the slides as we go through. If you are using these slides in presentation mode, they are interactive, meaning that the hamburger icon over here is just a placeholder, but the waffle icon will actually take you to the next slide where it's as if the menu, your waffle in your Google bar had opened up, and here's the apps we're going to talk about today. And each of these apps, if you were to click on them, will take you to that section of the presentation. And then in the subsequent slides, if you click on the waffle again, it will bring you back to this slide so that you can always come back. It's like a table of contents. But for today's session, we're just gonna go through them in sequential order. I'll stop every couple of slides, 2 or 3 slides, see if anybody has any questions, anything they want to comment on. And then at the end, we'll do kind of a workshop session where you can pull things apart and ask about anything we didn't touch on. So the first app we're going to talk about is Gmail, and Gmail is the school supported email program we use. It's for sending and receiving email both in district and out. It allows you to communicate with your fellow teachers and your upper grade students. 6th grade and up, I believe, can receive email from teachers. It also allows you to communicate with vendors and outside colleagues from other districts and other places. You can go into the settings of your Gmail and you can adjust how you see the layout of your email, if conversations are stacked or if they're filed one by one in your window. You can create labels to sort and organize your emails. You can create an out of office response, meaning if you're on vacation for a week or if something were to happen during school and you need to take time off, you could make an auto response that would respond to people when they email you. You can create a personalized signature that is at the bottom of all of your emails, and you can also create templates. And what templates are is, for example, if you have an assignment that's due and you find that parents are asking the same question over and over and over again, or students are asking the same question over and over and over again, and you don't want to have to type out basically the same response 50, 60, 70 times, you can create a template that allows you to go in and kind of, when that email comes in, you hit reply, you go to the template, you select it, and it preloads your email response, and you can go in and personalize it for that particular recipient, whether it's parent, student, colleague, administrator, whatever it may be. And I'll show you some of these features in my email box. So this is my email. And when I go up here into the settings gear, these are my quick settings. These are your density layouts. So the default layout gives me a little bit more. It spread things out a little bit more. I prefer comfortable. It's kind of the middle of the road. It takes away those images of when things are attached or there's pictures or things like that on there. And then there's compact, which makes everything really tight up in there. You can see more messages at once. I'm comfortable with comfortable, but this is personal preference. You can go in and change this. You can change it multiple times a day whenever you feel like it. You can also change your theme, which is this background image. I have a watery, beachy type background, but there's all different ones that you can choose from. And there's inbox types over here. I keep mine unread first, which means all of my unread emails sit here at the top until I open them, and then everything else is filtered down by date. You can choose which ones you want this to be. You can do a default and then customize it. These are settings worth going through and playing with. I keep my unreads at the top. That way I know which ones I still need to reply to. And if I open something up, but still want it to float at the top, I then go in and mark it as unread. So it will move back up into that top section. The reading pane, back when we had Microsoft Outlook, some teachers had it so that their messages showed up on the left and there was a preview of the message to the right. That's called a reading pane. You can turn that on here where it can either be to the right, like I just mentioned, or it could be top and bottom. I prefer not to have that reading pane, so I have mine on no split, but you could turn that on or off as you like. Again, this is something you can turn on and off whenever you want to. And then if I open up see all settings, this is going to give me more choices. These are just the quick ones. There's lots of stuff here. I would say don't mess with this stuff. You can play with your default text. This will be the standard text in all of your messaging. I just picked Tahoma and I left everything else alone. I prefer the Tahoma font, but that's up to you. That's again, personal preference. And again, something you can come in and change whenever you want. Scroll down a little bit. Conversation view. This is a big one I get asked about a lot. When you send and receive emails, if you have a conversation with someone that has 10, 12, 15 emails, to have conversation view on stacks all of those conversations into one email line and puts a number in parentheses after it. If you have conversation view off, each of those emails and responses will be a separate email entry in your inbox. So let's see if I can find one. This one right here. I have a conversation going with 2 of our speech language pathologists. There are 15 messages in this conversation. This is because I have conversation view on. If I turn this off, each of these email messages will be their own line wherever they fall in my timeline of my email history. So again, personal preference, turn it off or on and play with it as you like. Let's see. Oh, here's your signature, almost down to the bottom. This is your signature. You can adjust this. You can put a picture of yourself. You can add your address, your title, any credentials that you may have. You can put all of that here. And you can have multiple signatures. So this is a brand new feature from Google. It used to be you had one signature and that was it, but now you can create multiple ones and you can come in and turn them off and on. Maybe you have a different signature during summertime when it's, you know, you're a summer school teacher and you want that to be reflected in your signature, or maybe you have a different role that you play with in the district and you want to flip back and forth between the two so that the appropriate signature is at the bottom of your email. You can do that as well. And then the vacation responder is here. So mine is off, but if you wanted to put a message here, I had one going for a day that I was out sick. I wanted it to just auto reply. I didn't have to deal with forwarding messages along to the responsible person. You would just click this circle button to turn it on, put in the information that it asks for, and then you could do only send a response to people in my contacts. You could do only send a response to people in Milford Public Schools. So obviously, for example, if a vendor from out of district contacted me, I wouldn't want them to email Kevin or Nancy in our technology department. I would get back to them when I got back to work. So I tend to check off only for responses from Milford Public Schools. And then if I had changed anything in any of these windows, you do need to save your changes. This is one of the areas in Google where you do need to save. It doesn't auto save. And then the only other thing that we talked about in that slide was the templates. They used to be called canned responses, but now they're called templates. And they are in advanced. And under templates, you need to enable them. They are automatically disabled, I believe, but if you click enable them and then click save changes, when you go to write an email message, when you go to compose, I gotta move you guys, you're blocking my view. When you type something and you wanna save this message, I want there to be a message I've just created so that every time somebody emails me, I could reply with how are you? Hi, how are you? I go down here to the triple dots near the trash can and I select templates. And these are all the templates that I currently have. I have a lot of responses for when people email me about particular things. ST Math, Raz Kids, Chromebook logins, how to get kids accounts. So things that I type out directions to or find myself replying a lot to, I have a response for it. But to create a new one, you're gonna do save draft as a template. And I can either overwrite one that I already have, or I can create a new one. So you would do save as a new one, give it a title. And then if I wanted to use one, again, I would go to the 3 dots, I would go to templates, and I would pick the one that I wanted to use. So if I wanted to give someone directions on how to get to the help desk, I would click on help desk, and those directions pop right into this email. Okay. A good quick tip, you do want to delete your signature when you save your template, otherwise your signature is going to be on there twice. So as you can see, there's a couple different signatures going on here because I've saved it at different times. So I tend to just do that and delete the old ones instead of making a new one. Okay. Questions about the Gmail stuff? Everybody good? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next section. And the next one is calendar. So we are recommending, especially if we move to a hybrid or a remote model, that people tend to schedule their Zoom meetings, their class things that they have going on online, to schedule them on calendar. It will help you stay organized. And some schools actually have they've created a centralized calendar for teachers to input different Zoom meetings or things that are happening, and they want them copied in there. So calendar is basically a digital planner. It allows you to schedule events. You can invite other people to your events. You can make things that are happening over and over again. So if something happens at 2 o'clock on Mondays, you could make that a repeating event. There are different calendars you can create. So you can have one for yourself personally. You can have one for your Zoom meetings. You could have another one for times when the interventionists are coming into your classroom. You can change how much of your calendar you view at one time, and you can actually share your calendars with others. So if you've ever noticed that your administrative assistant or front desk secretary seems to know what's going on with the principal or the assistant principal at all times, it's probably because they've shared, the principal or the assistant principal has shared their calendar with that person. So they're able to schedule meetings for them and find out what's going on and know where they are at meetings or in another building or something like that. And that's why. So to talk about some of these, I'm going to jump into my calendar. So this is my calendar, and I've linked up a bunch of different stuff. Turn that one off. So as you can see, these are all my work calendars. These are all calendars that are going on at Woodland. We have an amphitheater we schedule out. We have common project areas, conference rooms, and when they're this white box, it means that they're not showing up on my calendar. When they have a check mark, they are there. So I have turned on a few things here and there. Touchscreen Chromebooks, the master calendar for the whole building. But most of them I have turned off because I don't need to know them. I don't need to know who's in the amphitheater or the conference room or who signed out the media room or the gym, anything like that. That if I needed to know that, all it would take would be me clicking that off, and any of that information would fill in my calendar. I like to look at a month at a time, but up here in this box, you can change that. You can make it, you look at a single day at a time, maybe a week is more your style. I don't recommend a year. You can't see individual events, but some people prefer to see a schedule. And what that does is it gives you an agenda. So you don't see days at a time, but you see all of the events that would show up. So these would be the events that are showing up on my calendar. But like I said, I prefer a month. It helps me stay a little bit more organized. This today button up here at the top will bring you back to today. So if you're scheduling something, if you're planning and you want to look at something and you click on this button, it will bring you right back immediately to today. And today is in this blue circle right here. So to schedule a new event, you can do one of two things. You can click on the create button up here, or you can click in the day that you want to create your event. So if I want to create something on the 24th, I can click on it and I get this kind of pop-up box right here. I would give it a title. I could say when I want it to be, so it defaults to the date. If I want to add a specific time, I would come in here and add the times. And it will fill it in. I've set my calendar up to default to 45-minute blocks because that's how long the blocks of time are at Woodland and Brookside and Memorial when I visit. So I've set that up in my settings. It's a little more advanced. We can go over that if we need to. I can add guests directly here. I can start typing in their email addresses. They should self-populate, and I can click on who I want. I don't recommend doing the video conferencing from this. I feel like the capabilities are better and the settings are easier to manage when you schedule your video meetings directly in Zoom, not in Calendar. And if I wanted to move this event from my personal work calendar and put it on something else, maybe this is something going on in the amphitheater or the project area, I could click any of these calendars and change which one it shows up on, and that will change the color that the event is in on my screen. And then, oops, sorry about that. If I wanted to dive into some of the deeper options, I would click on more options. And this is where I can make it a recurring event, or I could make it all day. So if it's an all day event, and then I could make it repeat. Does it repeat daily? Does it repeat weekly, monthly? I have lots of choices. I could even customize it down here. If I wanted to add a location or a Zoom link or an agenda or anything like that, I would put that here. I would click save, and it says, do you want to send invitations? And you would click send. I'm not going to click send because I'm not going to send this to Kathy Pelican. She doesn't need that. So that's how you schedule a calendar event. This card. And if you wanted to share a calendar, you would pick the calendar you wanted to share, most likely your personal work calendar. You would go to the three dots and you would go to settings and sharing. And if you scroll down just a little bit here, where it says add people, you would add your colleague that you would like to share this calendar with. I have shared my calendar with my personal Gmail account so that no matter which calendar I'm signed into, I can see my work events as I need to. But you could add maybe your teaching partner, maybe you had a student teacher or a long-term sub or something like that. You could add them to your calendar so that they could see the events and schedule events and make events on your calendar for you in your place. So, calendar questions. Yes, Pam.
Hi, Sarah. I'm still getting my alerts from this past spring's Zoom meetings. How do I shut them off so I'm not getting like an alert like you have a 1 o'clock Zoom meeting?
I think you have to delete, so it's a calendar alert about a Zoom meeting that you have?
That I'm hosting, yeah.
So it's not coming from Zoom, it's coming from Calendar.
Okay,
Is
yes.
that what's coming? I just want to double check. Okay, so what you would do, for example, let me pull one of mine up. So I have, where's today? Oh, it didn't show up. So let me turn my calendar back on. Hold on one sec. Here we go. So I have this event right here. I just called it Sarah Work, and I have it as a reoccurring event. So what you would need to do—
Can you share your screen?
Oh, sorry. I thought I was. There we go. All right. So I have events on my calendar that I just put as every Monday, every Wednesday, every Thursday for the rest of the summer. But what you could do is if you go into, for example, find one of those events on your calendar and then just hit this trash can. So you click on it and you get this kind of little summary box. Click the trash can and it'll say just this event, this and following events, or all events. So you want to do this and the following events. So it'll delete this occurrence of it and anything that follows it.
And so how does that differ from all events? Because isn't this just that one reoccurring event?
Nope. So if I do this and following, it's going to take the one that you clicked on and any that are after that. If you do all events, it's going to erase all trace of that.
Everything.
Yes, which you might not want to do. You might want to keep those dates historically so that parents can say, well, you never had one on this date. Yes, I did. But that again is your choice. I like
it's deleting all the events prior.
Yes, it's everything. So you want the middle choice.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Yep, no worries. Anybody else before we move on? Okay. Back to the share. All right. So next we have Drive. Google Drive is, if anybody's used Dropbox in the past, if anybody's used OneDrive, or those handy dandy thumb drives everybody used to use, or the P drive on the old servers, that's what Google Drive is. It's basically a place to store all of your stuff. You can make folders to keep yourself organized. You can upload files. You can upload folders of files. Basically, anything can be uploaded into Google Drive. I've uploaded installation stuff. So we have Ladybug cameras around the district, and we found that the Ladybug website isn't very friendly with the school filters. So I actually downloaded the Ladybug installation files into my Google Drive so that when someone needs that stuff installed, I just go in my Google Drive and get it. So you can put anything in your Google Drive. You can view your stuff in your Drive either as a list of stuff or as thumbnails, depending on which you prefer. And again, something you can change or change back to whenever you want. There are shared drives, and there's some special rules that go along with shared drives. We're not going to touch on them too much today, but some of you may have experience with them a little bit. You can star your files if they're things that you need to get to constantly. You can also access things by how recently you accessed them. You can share things with people, and people can share things with you. And we're going to talk about a couple of tips of how to keep organized in your Drive. So this is my Drive. And I have a lot of stuff in my Drive, but this is the thumbnail view. So you see your folders here is like rectangles. And when you scroll down and you get past your folders, you see actual pictures of what your files look like. This can get very big and very long to scroll through, especially if you have a lot of stuff in here. So I typically keep mine on list view. So it's again, just a list. Tells me who owns it, the last time it was modified, and I can get through this a lot quicker. If I'm looking for something specifically and I'm inside the folder where I think it is, that's when I'll turn the thumbnail tile type view back on, and that's right here in the corner. It's the same button, grid view, list view. You can toggle back and forth between the two, whichever you prefer. You can put your stuff into folders. So I have, these are my summer PD videos. These are all my PowerPoint templates. These are tutorials I've created. So everything's kind of in a folder. And if you have a bunch of files that you want to collect together into a folder, way you do that is you go to New and you go to Folder, and then you give your folder a name. So give it a name. And you click Create, and then it'll show you where that is, and it defaults to ABC order. And then to get your files in there, it's just drag and drop. So you find the files that you want. So I want to move this one, and I just drag them up to where I want them to go. And the drag and drop is a little easier when you are in the thumbnail grid view as opposed to the list view. It's a little less scrolling all around. But you can do drag and drop in both. You can also do move. So if you click on a file and then you right click on it, it says move to, you can tell this box where you want that file to go. So it takes a little bit of thinking if you have a lot of folders and a lot of files. But I can say, I want this file to go in that same folder that I just created, and click move. And that's it. And I can undo it if I want to right here. Real quick. It gives you like a 30-second heads up, I believe, if you can move your files. If I want to pull things that are on my computer into my Drive, I highly recommend doing this as often as possible. Don't keep things on your computer, because if your computer crashes, you don't have your stuff anymore. You can upload single files using file upload, or you can upload whole folders, bulk uploads of stuff using folder upload. And again, you would just click on this, find the item or the folder that you want to upload, and click the upload button, and you would get a progress bar over here in the right lower corner. I'm not gonna do that because I have a bunch of doubles that I have going on from that. These folders, if you have things that you need to stick out for you, for example, this is my educator evaluation folder. I wanted that to stick out, so I did a couple of different things. I color coded it, And I also gave it a little emoji in the front to kind of bring it to the top of the list. You'll notice all of these files here at the top have emojis in front of them. They will float to the top. And I've also used a numbering system to bring certain files to the front as well. So this is like my graduate program. These are interactives that I've been working on for remote learning. These are files specific to Woodland. So to do that, all you need to do, again, is select the one you want, right click on it. You can change the color, so pick any color you like. And then if you want to put that emoji in the front, you click on rename and you click your mouse, your cursor where you want. And all I did was copy an emoji from, I think I just Googled thumbtack emoji and it was like emoji dictionary, something like that. There's tons of websites out there. Just copy and paste. It's not a special key on the keyboard or special combination. I copied it off the website. I brought it over here and I pasted it. I did Control V and it went right in. So let's see. If I want to see the things that I've worked on most recently, there's a recent tab over here on the side. You could click that. And these are all the files that I've worked on today, yesterday, last week. If I want to see the things that are important to me, I can click on starred. So these are the things I need the most. And to star something, all you have to do is either when it's open, so like right now, this particular slideshow, I could click the star here next to the title. Or if I'm in Google Drive, just looking at various files, if I right click on it, I could add to star and I could do that right here. So I could do both. I could either do it from the file name or in the actual file itself. And then your shared with me folder is going to have anything that anybody has shared with you, including files that students have completed in Google Classroom. So this is going to get a lot of use when we start having students turn in work using Google Classroom. So one of the things you want to utilize when you're in shared with me, if you're looking for that file your colleague shared with you 2 weeks ago and you can't remember where it is, when you do search in Drive, you can search by who shared it, who's part of it. So if I want to look for anything that involves Dan Nelson, this is all the files that he has shared with me that he owns. So that owner button, when you pull that up, this is really useful, as well as the file type. So you can type in a keyword and then click on who you think it is or what type of file you think it is, and it will narrow your results that are in that shared with me section. So the shared with me can get very overwhelming. Okay, I know Kate had a question. I saw it pop up. There it is. So you can't delete it from shared with me, and you can't delete someone's master. But if you have, so when someone shares something with you, it used to be that you could add it to your drive, meaning the file lived simultaneously. For example, if I shared something with Kate and Kate moved it to her drive, the same file would live in her drive and my drive at the same time. It would be the same file. If I changed something, it would reflect in Kate's version. If she changed something, it would reflect in my version. Google has since changed their name of that. So if you notice, if someone shares something with you, it now says add a shortcut to your drive. And that means they're giving you a shortcut to that file. So if I'm in shared with me and I want to look at this file, when I right click on it, instead of saying move to or add to drive, it now says add shortcut to drive. So that means this particular file will be in my drive, but it's not my file. So it's not calling it like I own it. It's a shortcut to get back to this original version of it. So you can delete those shortcuts, but you can't delete it from this list in shared with me. Does that answer your question? Any other questions about Drive? All right, we're gonna move on to the next one. Drive is red. All right, so Docs. Docs is the Google version of Microsoft Word. It is almost practically the same thing. You can give things titles, you can do the same similar types of text formatting, color, font, size, all that kind of stuff. There are converting woes and things that don't work. So if you have something already created in Word and you go to upload it into Google Drive and you use the conversion tool to make it a Google Doc, Some things don't work. Pictures don't work very well. Tables don't work very well, and text boxes. I know a lot of us used to use text boxes to put things where we wanted them to go when we were putting together a Word document, a newsletter, or some sort of handout for our kiddos. It doesn't work. The Google fonts are different than the Word font. So all of those fonts that you may have gotten online, or the CD of teacher fonts, those don't work in Google Docs. They only work in Microsoft Word. So if you have that, like the 3-line handwriting font and all that kind of stuff, those don't work in Google Docs. You still need to make those in Microsoft Word. And my recommendation, if to store them in your drive, would be to print them as a PDF and then upload the PDF version of it. But however, you can use tables in Docs to help stuff stay organized. I will show you where you can access the different fonts that Google does have, and you can share and collaborate your Google Docs. So you can make a new doc by going to your drive and clicking this new button. The other thing you can do is you can go to docs.new, and it'll give you a brand new Google Docs. And that will work with any of the Google apps, sheets.new, slides.new. If you type that in your address bar, it will give you a new document. So just like Microsoft Word, you have a similar menu up here. You have similar editing features: bold, italic, underline, centering, line spacing, indenting, bulleting. A lot of these are the same. If you want to insert a table, you go to Insert, Table, tell it how big you want it to be. And just like any other table, you can drag, drop, change the size of these, that type of thing. If you want to see the different fonts, I have a lot on mine because I've gone through and added ones that I like or don't like. But it typically defaults to very basic fonts: Arial, Times New Roman, the typical ones. To add more, you go to More Fonts right up here at the top. And you go through and you check off the ones that you want, and you can filter. You can do handwriting fonts, display fonts, just the serif fonts. It currently sorts by popularity, but you could do ABC if you're looking for something specific. If you know the name of the one you want, you could type it in here and find it. And you can search for different script types. So if you need a Hebrew script or an Arabic script, you can search for that here. If it has a blue check mark, that means you've already added it to your Google Docs. And if you add it to Google Docs, it's also added to all of the other Google apps, so you don't have to do this in each one. But if you want to add one, let's say I want to add Roboto. This is another time where you do have to confirm or save. If I don't click OK, Roboto is not going to be in my list. So I have to make sure that I click OK. And now it will be in my list. And there I have a ton. So if you need fun fonts, if you're looking for something similar, shoot me an email and I'll help you find some. I actually put together like a font sheet of my favorite ones typed out so that I know what they look like. And you can change the color, which is right here. You can highlight stuff. You can insert links. You can insert images. It doesn't format real great. There's only 3 options, like break up the text, in front of the text, or I forget what the third option is, but it's not real great. Anytime I use images, I tend to use slides instead. In any Google document, whatever you type for the first line of your file, if you don't give your file a name first, when you go up here to change the name, it defaults to whatever you typed here on the top line. So a good practice for you, and probably for younger students in particular, is the first thing you type on your document, you want to be the title of your document. That way, when you go up here to make your title, it already pops up in there for you. And then if you want to share this file, you go over here to the blue button. Yeah, thanks. Maybe. Let's try that again. There we go. And this may look a little different. This changed probably about 2 or 3 months ago. The link sharing is down here on the bottom. So if you're posting things in a learning calendar or Google Classroom or some type of online where you want people to just click on a link, this is where you're going to get that link from. So it defaults to restricted, meaning only people you invite can view this. So you can change it to Milford Public Schools. So this would be if you wanted to share something just with your students. If you wanted to share something wider and you wanted parents and other people to be able to see it without having to sign into a Google account, you would do anyone with the link. So as long as they had the link, they could click on it and get into it. And in terms of what they can do with it, they can be a viewer, which means they can just look at it. They can be a commenter, meaning they can give you feedback on the side, or they can be an editor, meaning they can change things within the file itself. I tend to keep things as viewer. You copy this link and then you paste it wherever you want it to go. If you only want one or two other people to see this file, the best thing to do would be to share it on the top. So let's say, for example, I only want Kate Bruyere to see this and Pam Monahan. Those are the only people I want to have access to this. They're going to get an email. This box is checked off. If they don't need an email, you can uncheck it. I could type them a quick message. Hey guys, can you review this? Make sure there's no grammar mistakes for me. Thanks. And click send, and they would get an email saying Sarah Boyle has shared this file with you. You can share files this way with students in grade 6 and up, and they will get that email, and then it will be in their shared with me file in their drive. For students in 5th grade and lower, you can still do this, but when you click send, you're gonna get a box that says students can't receive email. The students will not have an email in their email inbox, but the file still will show up in their shared with me file. You just have to give them a heads up to go in there and look for it. So they're not gonna get any sort of notification that it's there, but it is still shared with them. Okay, docs questions. We do have a comment where you can use it to translate. There is a translate feature built into Google Docs. You can also do the Google Translate extension that will help you translate pretty quickly. So you can use that as well to translate things for families and parents and students who may need something in another language. Thanks. Anne.
Tell me again, Sarah, I wasn't quite getting it. When you said that, I understood that 5th grade and below will not get the email notification, but you said it's still in a shared with me place.
Yep.
Where's that place that the students would get it?
Yep, so back in Google Drive, so they would have to go into Google Drive, and then on the left-hand sidebar, there's a space that says shared with me, and they would have to click in there and find the file. Say that again?
And this would be on their Chromebooks?
Yep, anywhere that they're signed into Google.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to the next one. The next one is Sheets. I'm not gonna go too far into Sheets because I don't know many people who use it unless they're doing a lot of data collection. But Sheets is basically Microsoft Excel. It's basically the same thing. I haven't found a whole lot about Sheets that is different from Excel, except for some like super nerdy data formula kind of stuff, which I love. So there are some things if you dive really, really deep into it, but on the surface, it's very much the same. It's a spreadsheet. It's got cells, rows, columns. You can do similar formatting. You can sort by different things. So if you have student, grades and excuse me, data in there, you can sort based on specific criteria. You can do formulas, you can do average formulas, sum formulas, count if formulas, all that kind of stuff. And again, you can share these. So if you're doing grade level data or team data or a teaching partner, stuff like that, you can share those with one another. So I'm gonna cancel this, get out of here. And I'm gonna make a new Sheets. So again, I'm gonna do sheets.new. I could also go to Google Drive and click on that create button and create a Google Sheets. But when I create one, I get standard spreadsheet. I get all the same toolbars and all the same options up here at the top. I can type things in. So if I want to say student 1, student 2, and student 3, I have that. And then their scores, maybe they got a 56, 67, and a 78. And this student got 34, 67, 98. And this student did this. So over here on this side, I can do the average. I hit the equal sign, and then it has some of the most popular formulas pop up right away. And if I like one of those, I can select them, or I can keep typing and it'll show me what it's doing. So it's adding up all of these scores, or it's averaging all of these scores. So I'm going to click average, and then I hit enter. And this student's average is a 67. And I can format, I can sort, I can color code. And it's basically the same as Microsoft Excel. So I'm not going to dive real deep into it because not many people use it unless they're data collectors and sorters like I am. So anybody need anything specific about sheets? Great. So the next one is my favorite, and that is slides. I use slides every day. I use it for everything. And most people think of slides as the counterpart of PowerPoint, which it is. It's, a presentation program, but I use it for my student worksheets, my interactives. I use it when I'm making newsletters or posters or images, or I'm trying to create something. I use slides for just about everything. I very rarely use Google Docs. I tend to gravitate towards slides a little bit more. You can adjust the background, the color, or the image. You can add text boxes, images, videos, drawings, tables. You can animate it so that when you go from one slide to the next, it will do special certain things. You can animate the text so that it kind of dances onto the screen one item at a time. You can use it to present and kind of show a show when the students can put something together. And you can also share it and do something collaboratively. So I'm going to open up a new one. And this is just a blank one. There are tons of websites with themes and kind of put together slideshows that you can go and edit. That's where I get a lot of mine from. I go to Slides Carnival and Slides Mania. Those are my two favorite ones where I find lots of stuff. And you basically just download the template. The template tends to have 20 to 30 slides in it of all different backgrounds, but they're all thematic, and you go in and you just change the text on the ones that you want and use their icons and images and stuff like that. So when you first create a slideshow, a slides file, it's blank, totally white, and you can change different things up here on the top. They have some themes, and you can see they show up over here on the side. There's a black theme and a white theme. And then they have a few that have a little bit more color and graphic to them. So if you want to pick one of these, you totally can. If you want to pick one from those websites we were talking about, you basically go to the website, find the one you want, download it, and it adds a copy into your Google Drive. And then if you want it, what I do is I keep all of mine in my Drive. I have a whole file folder of them here. And when you pick one that you like, say this one, I open it up, I make sure it's what I want, and then I make a copy of it so that I still have this one as a template. You would just do File, make a copy. I do the entire presentation, and then this one stays the way that it is, and the copy that I just made, I'll be able to edit and add my own text to, so that this I can keep like this for the next time I want to use it. So you can, these are placeholders. So you can leave those there and click and type in them. It tells you what to type in them. You can add your own text boxes wherever you want on the screen. Your own images, you can bring them from your computer, or you can search for them right here. If you have them stored on your drive, you can bring them over. You can add shapes. Some people add squares behind their text to kind of make things stand out, arrows, different images that you might like. You can fill in the various text boxes. So if I want my title box to be red, now the box itself is red and my text is on top of it. I can change the color of the text over here, just like in Word, the font, the size, all of that's up here. So this is stuff to kind of just dive into and play around with and find something that you like. You can insert videos from the insert button. So all those things we talked about being able to insert, you can insert up here. And when you're ready to add a new page, there's this plus button on the top left. So you can add, if you just hit the new slide, it's gonna insert a basic text and title slide. But if you click on this little triangle, it gives you options and you can pick which type of slide you want to add next. So if you want a blank slide, you click on that and now it's blank. So there's all different slide types you can add. If you want to add transitions and animations to your slide, you would click the transition button and it would walk you through how to do that. You pick what item you want to animate, what transition you want your slide to have, you pick it, and then you can actually play it and see what it would look like. So if this slide were to fade, that's what it would look like if it were happening during the slideshow. Anything in particular about slides? I know that was fast, and there's a lot about slides. I could do a whole session just on slides. I love it.
I'd love you to do it. I'm taking a class and I had to do some slides and it just took me forever.
Yeah.
Like because I've never really worked with it, and now I just learned so much in that short presentation, but I'd love for you to do like a full presentation. That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
So back in the old days of PowerPoint, there were certain best practices around, doing a presentation or using slides so that they weren't too busy or the font wasn't too small. And I know all of those things are adjustable, but every time you ask someone to do something extra, it decreases the likelihood they'll do anything.
Sure.
So are there best practices? I see a lot of really busy slides being pushed out to the kids, and I was wondering, any suggestions or comments?
I think it depends on, so I think nowadays a lot of teachers are using slides not as a presentation. They're using it more as a worksheet or a handout or something the kids are supposed to do. So I think that changes the best practices. Most of those quote unquote PowerPoint best practices I think still apply if you're using something to be content delivery, if you're using it as a presentation still, even if it's on their own device, but it's meant to be, here's what you should learn. Those best practices I think still stick. If you're using it more as a worksheet or an interactive activity, those are gonna change. And that's gonna depend on what's the purpose of it, what's your audience, how old are the kids, what have you taught them how to do, what do they need to learn how to do. So that's gonna vary depending on who you're giving that assignment to. So I know that's not a concrete answer, but best I got. Anybody else? So we're gonna go more into slides in the level 2 session, not this one where this is just kind of like a brief overview, but if you attend the level 2 sessions or get a chance to watch the recording or check out the slides for that one, we're gonna dive more into some of those things about slides because I really do like it. But let's finish up with the last couple tools. Oops, wrong one. All right, so forms. Forms, if you've ever gotten a survey from your principal or you filled out the lunch order type thing or you filled out some of the stuff that's come out from the union recently, it's basically an online survey. You can give it a title. The title can be different than the name of the file, and that's true for all of the Google apps, whether it's slides, docs, sheets, the title of it can be different from the name of it, of the file. There's lots of different question types, which we'll go over in just a sec. You can insert images as the question and as the answer. You can also insert videos as well. You can make questions required or not. And we'll go over some of the settings to talk about it. And there is a difference in forms between sending it and sharing it. You want to send it if you want someone to fill it out. You want to share it if you want to have a collaborator who is going to help you fix the questions or come up with some questions and you're working on it together. So I'm going to open up a new forms. This is what it looks like. They always default to purple. You can change the color. You can put an image on the top. You can personalize it. You give it a title. Should populate over here, just like in all the other Google things. You can give it a description. This is where that bulk of text comes from if there needs to be explanation of why we're sending this form. Usually if it's a quiz or a student response type thing, this tends to be blank because they already know what it is. But then down here where it says untitled question, if you see this red asterisk, this means that the question is required and you can change that. So when you click on untitled question, it opens up into edit mode. So now I'm editing it. And over here where it says multiple choice, these are the different question types that you can choose from. Sorry, I have to move you guys around. I can choose short answer, which would be like 1 or 2 words, maybe a sentence. I can choose paragraph, and what the signal to the students would be is the response box is larger. Short answer just looks like a single line rectangle. Paragraph tends to be that larger text box. You can make it multiple choice. You can make it checkbox, which means they can select more than one. You can make it a drop-down menu. So if you're having them pick which of the 50 states, instead of having to list the 50 states and they're all 50 visible at the same time, a drop-down menu would condense them into one box. And when they click on it, then they see all 50 of them and they have to pick the one that applies. You can do a file upload, but I tend to steer away from those. I like Google Classroom better for file upload, for file sharing. But if you were asking for some sort of documentation from parents or something like that and they had digital copies of it, you could use file upload here as well. You could do linear scale, and these are those kinds of questions where it says rate this thing from 1 to 5, and you delineate what are the starters of those. So it defaults from 1 to 5, but you could say 1 to 10. You could say 1 to 3. And you can label the first one and the last one, but you can't label the ones in the middle. So depending on your audience would determine how those are labeled. You could do multiple choice grid. And what that is it gives you a list of items down the left-hand side, and then it gives you however many columns you decide. So things like mostly disagree, somewhat disagree, neutral, somewhat agree, mostly agree. So however many categories you want, they could rate each of these items into one of these columns. And then you could also do checkbox grid. If more than one of those columns were to apply for each of those items in the row, you could do checkbox instead of multiple choice. Multiple choice means they can only pick one. Checkbox, they could check more than one. These last two, date and time, you only want to choose these if the response has to be in a specific format. It means that the person has to input a specific month, day, and year, or a specific time. But if you just want text, you would go with this short answer question up here at the top. This button right here is for required. You can turn that off, and then that red asterisk is now gone. Or if you want to require them to answer, they have to answer, you want to turn that on. If you have multiple questions that will be the same format, or maybe multiple questions that are going to use the same selection of answers, you could hit this copy button and it would duplicate the question exactly, and you would just have to change the pieces you want to change. And then this sidebar over here, this is just another add question button. So it'll add a third question down there. This would be to bring questions in from other quizzes or other forms that you've made. You can bring them in from other forms. This would be to add another section. It would break it kind of apart where you get those multi-page quizzes. So you could give this whole section a title of these are going to be questions about multiplication, and they would be there. And then this button is to add images and to add videos. So up here on the top, real quick, this is where you change the color, or you can pick an image to put in there. You can change the font a little bit. There's only a couple choices. I tend to stick with basic because it's the easiest to read. You can preview it, see what the students see if you use this I preview button. And then when you're ready to send it to students, you click the send button. And then I copy the link. It's the easiest way to get that out there. Do not use the shorten URL button. We've had a lot of issues with this button where if someone chose to shorten it and then copied this, sometimes the link gets broken and doesn't work. So if you're pasting it into Google Classroom, ClassDojo, wherever you're using it, the long link should be fine. Just copy it. You can click the copy button right here and then paste it where you want it to go. Couple of quick settings. It defaults some of these on. So it defaults to collecting email addresses, and it defaults to restricting it to Milford Public Schools, meaning when you sign into the form, you have to be signed into your Google account, or it will ask you to sign into your Google account. And if you're not signing in with your Milford MA account, it won't let you fill it out. You can turn on response receipts, meaning they will get an email for 6th grade and up of the things that they put on their response. You can turn this off. And you can also turn on limit one response, meaning once they've turned it in, they can't click on the link and get into it again. They can only do it once. You can make things a quiz, meaning you can give things point values. And when you turn on make a quiz, each of these questions you can click in and give them point values so that the students will receive a grade for that particular quiz that they filled out. And if you need a collaborator, if you need to work on this with somebody, you go to the 3 dots and then you go to add collaborator. And this is kind of the share button that we saw in slides and docs and sheets. You would add a collaborator. And then all of this other stuff we'll talk about another time. I have some stuff on here about Google Classroom. We're not really going to dive into that because I have separate sessions just for those. But for those who are unfamiliar, it's a way to assign work and communicate with families and students. You can differentiate stuff. You can connect with parents. And it gives students a to-do list of assignments that they still need to work on. It does automatically connect with Calendar and Drive. So that's a nice little added feature. It gives them like an agenda. It'll automatically add assignments and due dates into their calendar. And it will self-generate a separate calendar and a separate Drive folder for Google Classroom itself. And that's all I've got for this session. So I'm going to stop sharing. And if anybody wants to stick around, I know we're at our time. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to stick around and ask. And if you're all set, feel free to hop off. What's up, Pam?
Oh, I was just saying goodbye, but I do want to stick around and ask you something.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you, Sarah.
Of
That
course.
was very informative. Thank you
It's
very
very
much.
fast. There's a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
Okay.
I have a question too.
Please. That's what I'm here for.
Okay, the last thing that you mentioned was those 3 dots where you
Yes.
could add collaborators.
Yes.
So who's collaborating there? The students? Are you saying?
No. So
who's-
collaborators would be colleagues or teachers. So for example, you do math and science, correct? Right now, currently. So a collaborator would be, for example, another math and science teacher that you wanted to help build the questions and the responses and make sure that it was the way you wanted it to be. The collaborator should only be there if you need their help. You should not add collaborators for like sharing the quiz to everybody else. Like that should only, when you want to send the quiz, like have the students do it, you use the send button and copy the link.
So as we're building this form
Yes.
together.
Yes.
So I have a new colleague that's math and science coming to me across the hall.
Mhm.
If she needs support, or we could work on something together. Okay,
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sarah, my question is outside the scope
That's okay.
talked about. Okay, so,
Thank
oh, go ahead, Anne.
Bye. Thanks. All right. What's up, miss?
So, I'm taking a class and they were showing me a website called, or maybe, I think it's a website, called Learning Chocolate. And it's,
It's an EL site, right?
It's an L site to learn vocabulary. And I was like playing around with it, looking at it, and like what the students would see is right in the middle, but to the right and left and underneath are all these ads, and they're very distracting. And is that, it's a free website. So like if I was to assign this to the kids to do, is there a way to delete those? Are they going to see them? Or do they, I don't know if they would sign in. I haven't yet really explored it. And if those ads would go away.
So there's a couple of things. I'm clicking around on it now because what I was thinking is happening, which is good. If the kids are on a Chromebook, a school issued Chromebook, you're at Stacy, right?
Yes.
So they should be, because they all have one. What happens is, I'll show you on my screen because I think it's pretty impactful. When they go to the website, all of the ads disappear. Because we have this app up here, and I might have actually hidden it. There's a little like red stop sign. It's called AdBlock Pro. And basically what it does on things like YouTube and sites like Learning Chocolate and sites like, what's the other one? Shepherd Software. They have all these ads because it's a free website and it's great, but they need to get paid. So it takes all of that stuff around the side and it blocks it and it stops it from coming through. So as long as they're on a school Chromebook on their school account, all of that stuff will get blocked.
Okay, so 2 more questions related to that. Can I, because I find it very distracting for me as well. Can I add that, whatever it's called the what blocker?
So it's called Ad Blocker Pro. And if you sign into your Chrome browser with your school account, so if you look on the screen up here on the top, these 3 dots, if you go into the settings, and here in the first thing, if you sign in with your account, your school account, it'll come through and it'll be there already. And it'll save all your bookmarks and it'll do all of that kind of stuff.
So you're saying I should do that today?
Yeah.
Okay, go. You went to the 3 little dots. And what again?
The 3 dots, settings, and then right here at the top, it'll be where you need to sign in.
Just sign in. But I only need to do that once?
Yep, because then what happens is every time I open it, it opens up logged into my account already.
Okay, and then my second question is, I'm sorry, I know this is so basic and you probably think like, how does she not know this? But this is just a website. It's not like a subscription. And so I can't really record what the students have done. I can say, do this, but there's no way to see their progress. There's no way to
it's just for practice.
Just for practice,
Yeah, they do have a login section, but I don't think it sets it up like, teacher and then student. It's not like Duolingo or any of those other sites. It's just for practice, I would say.
Okay.
One of the things you could do is if you previewed each of the activities, you could have them, like maybe there's something about the activity, like on the color one, maybe they have to name the colors that were involved in the questioning. Like maybe there's some sort of response that they have to give to prove that they actually did it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But other than that, there's no like, I can't think of the word, but there's no proof. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, that's the thing. Like we want our L's to be practicing and this is really quick, really fun, whatever topic we're doing, just give them that. But, if there's no proof, I'll have, 60% of the kids doing it, but the others won't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Thank you for telling me about that ad blocker. That's important.
No problem.
Thank you, Sarah. I've learned so much from you.
I'm glad. I love having you.
Yeah. Okay. See you next time.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.